Now that we finished the flowchart, now we're ready to go ahead and start coding. We use flowchart to show or prove to ourselves that our solution actually works. And these are easy problems up to this point, but as they get more complicated, you'll see that the flowchart really does a good job of helping you figure out what the best solution is. But we don't need it once we have used it for that purpose. We don't need to use it anymore, although I will use it for output a little bit later. Alright, so what we really need is our HTML kit and our human algorithm, because our human algorithm is almost in JavaScript format just the way it is. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of all this HTML, so delete that. Then I'm going to click on Objects and then JavaScript, and that puts our JavaScript tag in for us. So next thing I'm going to need is our places in memory, and we start with the keyword var for that. And where am I going to get those from? Well, input, I'm going to need a place, blank place in memory to store the answers, and the result of calculations, so these two. So I'm going to need 5 places in memory. So the first place is first shift. I'll copy that, paste that in, then comma space, then second shift, Control C, Control V, comma space, then third shift, copy that, Control V, and then I'm just going to end this line with a semicolon because I'm running out of space. Then I'm going to start a new line, var, and then for this one I'm going to put total production, copy that, paste it in, comma space, and then average, copy that, and paste it in, and then end that with a semicolon because I'm done with those 2 lines. For our assumptions, we call those our constants, so I'm just going to put in here a comment and say assumptions, and this is where I'm going to put my assumption. And I actually just need to copy this whole line, start with the keyword var because I need to create a place in memory. Then I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to say, well, create a place in memory called number of shifts, and assign to that place in memory the number 3, and I'm done with that line. Well, the next thing we're going to do is input, so I'll make a little comment, and then I will start with my input. So the first one is first shift, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it in. I'm going to say I'm going to assign to that place in memory, so use an equal sign for that. What's returned from my prompt when I ask the question, what is the first shift total? Question mark. Okay, so that's the question I'm going to ask. There's 2 arguments to a prompt, and we separate them with a comma, so I'm going to put a comma there. And the second thing is, what default value am I going to use? Well, it's not much of a default value that I can use, so I'm going to use quote, space, quote, and then close the parentheses and semicolon. I'm going to actually put a default value for the next one just so you can see how that works. All right, we go to the next one. Now this second one is the same as the first one, except I use second shift. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this. Copy and paste. Then I'm going to copy the rest of this. Control C, Control V, and I'm going to change this to second shift. I'll move to the end and move down. So what is second shift? So you can see that it's easier if I use lots of copying and pasting. Okay, the next one is the third shift. So I'm going to copy that, paste it in, and again I'm going to use the prompt, so I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this. And actually, another trick you can use is, you can see I'm pointing at it right now. If I hold down the Control key and drag, it actually makes a copy of it, and I let go. Pretty cool. Okay, so this one is my third shift, so I'm going to get rid of first and put in third. And if I want to put, say for this one, I'm going to put in a default value of 300, which doesn't make sense, but just to show you how that will look when we do the that part of it. All right, so we finished our input. Next is our calculations. So I'll go ahead and put a little comment in there so we know what section we're on. And for this, I'm just going to copy the two lines that we have. Control C, Control V, and the only thing I have to do is add semicolons to the end. Pretty easy. So you can see the work we've done for our human algorithm isn't wasted. We're actually have pretty much pre-coded everything. Last part is my output. And on this I'm going to use the keyword document dot write. What that says is a document is a web page, and I'm going to use the write method, which is a subroutine, to put on that web page whatever is in the parentheses that come after this. So I'm going to put in parentheses, semicolon, and inside that I'm going to have to put the label and the other. But I've already done that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my flowchart and copy this. That's the only thing I have to put in the parentheses. So I'm going to copy that, go back to my code, and paste it in. And that's it. And let's move this down. Alright, then I have another document write, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And again, I can hold down my control key and drag it down. That makes a copy of it. And then I'm going to I'm going to add another parenthesis and a semicolon. And that's now just anything that I put in the middle of that, of this right here, is what's going to be output. So I'll go back to my flowchart again. Double click on the next one. I've already tested this in the flowchart, so why not use it? Because I know that I won't get any errors. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my code, and in between the parentheses, I'm going to paste it in. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this and see if it works. And the first shift is 100. Second shift is 200. You can see I have a default value of 300 for the third one, so I don't have to type anything. And I'll click OK. And this is what we've gotten. Ooh, that's pretty ugly. Alright, so we have some problems. One is this should be 600 and it's that, and that's not right. And you can see it's 100, 200, 300. So what's happened is instead of adding those three numbers together, joined them together. The second problem is it should end right there, and then I want average widgets on the next line. So I'm going to have to do both of those. Now actually this number here turns out to be right. If you divide this by 3, it comes out with that. So I don't have to fix anything there. I just have to fix my formatting and fix that problem right there. So let's go back to the editor and fix that. Alright, so our problem is whenever you add things from our prompts, because when I put the number in, it's actually ASCII. It's not a binary number. So I need to change it from ASCII, which is just like a comma or exclamation point, into a binary number. So I'm going to do a conversion here. So I'm going to add a comment of conversion. So I'll know why I did this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, because one of the first things I'm going to have to do is change the ASCII value that's in first shift. And I use that using a function called parseInt. That I has to be capitalized, and then it has an argument and then a semicolon. So what goes in here is what I want to convert, which actually is first shift. So I can just go ahead and hold down the control key and drag it in. So what this is saying is take what's in first shift, which is the ASCII 100, change it into a binary number, which is 100, and place it into first shift, and then everything will be okay. So let's do that again. I need to copy this, paste it in, parseInt, and then send it second shift, close a parenthesis and a semicolon. Alright, so the second one done, and I have my last one. That is third shift, and then parseInt, and then third shift, and then close parenthesis and semicolon. So now what I've done is I've taken each of the inputs that come in from the prompt, and I'm converting them to binary numbers so that this will add it rather than joining it. Because whenever it sees the plus sign, see the plus sign here can mean add or join. Down here we're using that plus sign to join these two together, and that's what it's done up here. The next problem is at the end of this line, instead of average going to the next line, it just keeps on going. So I'm going to put some HTML in here, and that's the BR tag. That has to go between the quote and the first letter. If you do it outside the quote, you're going to get an error, and that's going to break that line. Alright, let's see if we fixed it. First shift is 100, second shift is 200, third shift is 300, and now we have 600 and 200. We have a good program. Alright, well that's it.